Nate, who do you think won this trade, the Steelers or the Cowboys?
I don't think there are any winners. I think there's only losers, and one of which it'll be a TBD. But I think actually, I'm going to back up that statement. I do think there is a partial winner here, and I do think it is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The only reason that would be a loss is if Aaron Rodgers, who is all projected to go there, actually we have no clue. Rodgers apparently is still pondering his life decisions at this point. But if Rodgers actually liked having the dynamic duo of DK Metcalf and George Pickens, that's the only way it would be a loss. Otherwise, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would say it's a win because I think the Cowboys overpaid for George Pickens. They sent him a third-round pick when, according to The Athletic's Jeff Howe, some teams reportedly, quote, laughed at the idea of trading for George Pickens when learning the Steelers were shopping the wide receiver during the 2025 NFL Draft. Some teams, polled by The Athletic, laughed at the idea of inviting Pickens into their locker room for any price, let alone a second-day draft pick. And that's the reason why I would say it's a win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we saw over the course of the last few years, and especially last year, where George Pickens became a nuisance on the field, where he would put no effort into routes that he knew he wasn't getting the ball for, and especially pointing out some of the run blocking schemes, even though a run blocking scheme, obviously the wide receiver has no part in actually the play except to block your guy. And we've seen over the course of any NFL team, everybody is putting in, or at least I would say 95% of them, you do have some of those bad apples just like George Pickens, where you put in no effort in a play that has really nothing to do with you. And we saw that with George Pickens last year. Even so much so, Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have a history of drafting or picking up some of these disgruntled receivers. Look at Deontay Johnson. He's bounced around the league in one singular year because for on the field issues, who the hell knows? But even Mike Tomlin last year said that Pickens needed to grow up. And obviously at the end of the year, there was the infamous press conference where George Pickens was asked if he had any more faith in the Pittsburgh Steelers after, some of their recent performances. His response was, nah. So obviously, and that's why I said months ago, I made the prediction months ago that George Pickens, going into 2025, will not be on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. And Mike Tomlin finally said, you know what? Supposedly, he led the charge on this, that no, George Pickens will not be a receiver anymore for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But besides that, we've also seen George Pickens get into on-field altercations during against the Cleveland Browns. He's been fined more than $20,000 in two unsportsmanlike conduct violations against the Bengals. And apparently, reportedly, he arrived late on Christmas Day for the matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. So the fact that one of the most respected head coaches, and albeit I'll say this because I've said this repeatedly on the show, I don't love the fact that the only thing going for Mike Tomlin now is he's never had a losing season. What about winning a playoff game? That hasn't happened since, I think, 2016. Don't love that, or maybe 2018. I forget the exact. I think it is 2016 though. Mike Tomlin's one of the most respected head coaches in the NFL, and the fact that he told George Pickens to grow up, that just shows you what of a locker room cancer George Pickens seems to be. Because if he's out there on the field, complaining and all that, that's not a good look. That's not exactly what you want from a guy who's going to a Dallas Cowboys team, and this is the loss for the Cowboys, where they spent a third-round pick and a fifth-round pick to go get George Pickens, who will get upset if he doesn't get the ball, and George Pickens will now be relegated from being a number one during his entire time, basically, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, now being relegated to the number 2 spot behind CeeDee Lamb. I don't know how that's going to pan out exactly with George Pickens being a number 2 when he complains a lot about not getting the football as much or really at all, or at least to the level that he expects the amount of targets to be. So I think it is a big loss. And also, supposedly, the Cowboys expect to extend George Pickens, who is playing on a contract year this year, and going to a team where the leader of the team will be Brian Schottenheimer, a first-time head coach who didn't even call plays last year. I think this is a runaway train. But it does give Dak Prescott another weapon, although the running game was the issue last year, not the wide receiver core. But they do add another weapon to Dak Prescott's arsenal. That, I guess, is a plus. But I do think, if we're talking about strictly winners, I do think the Steelers did win this because they got off of a toxic player trait in what George Pickens has.
To agree with you on this, I do think that it's another example of the NFL sending a message. You guys, the attitude is important here, and being commitment and motivation and being a good teammate. All of that you show with Shedeur Sanders. A lot of comments about him being a wise guy and not taking his interviews seriously. It cost him big time. He dropped to the 5th round. Here's George Pickens, who talent-wise is one of the better wide receivers in the league, but he's got issues in the locker room, issues with the coaches, issues on the field with sportsmanlike conduct penalties, and hey, he's gone. He's gone now to the Cowboys, who are going to take a flyer on him and see how they do. So I agree. I think the Steelers had the upper hand here in this trade. I think the trade is generally viewed as a move driven by the Steelers' focus on the future and a desire to acquire draft capital. They'd appear to be stockpiling draft picks, particularly in 2026, adding a 2026 third-round pick now from the Cowboys and a 27 fifth-round pick for Pickens. Who was going to be the Cowboys' number two? I'm sorry, who was going to be the Pittsburgh's number 2 receiver to complement DK Metcalf? They really haven't figured that out.
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods, I think, is maybe a pretty poor second to George Pickens in terms of talent and youth. I mean, Robert Woods is he's getting up there in age. I don't know. He's a journeyman now. So I think they'll probably still be looking around. There's some other wide receivers still out there that I'll get to in a minute. The Cowboys, I think they gain a talented wide receiver in Pickens who will complement CeeDee Lamb and create more opportunities for Dak Prescott. Pickens provides a strong vertical threat in the Cowboys' passing game. He has a history of making contested catches and taking it deep. I saw one catch he made in his rookie year, which is unbelievable. I think they always play that some of the big catches from some of the players, but that one Pickens had in his rookie season was one I'll never forget. So the guy can perform. It's just got a little bit of a head case. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. The Cowboys will need to decide if they want to extend him. So that's going to be a big issue. And if I were them, I wouldn't. I would let him play out his contract here. He's going to have to play well in order to get then they risk somebody else picking him up. But to find out whether he's really got it or not, I'd let him play out the contract. We'll have to wait and see what they do. So opportunities for Pickens to improve his reputation, which is something that is a problem. So I think no doubt this trade improved the Cowboys' passing game. I think Pickens is a deep threat, averaging almost 17 yards per catch the past two seasons. Only a receiver in the past 3 seasons to post 50-plus receptions, 800-plus yards, and 15-plus yards per reception. They only missed 3 games due to injury, so he's pretty durable too. But saying he's the missing piece for the Cowboys offense, I think is a little overblown because until he is signed to a long-term deal, this is just a 1-year experiment. And the Cowboys, and they lack other pieces on offense too. I think I don't know whether the Steelers, you think that a third-round pick was great for the Steelers to get. Some people think that they should have gotten more, but I tend to think the chronic number of incidents over the past few years off the field and his unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, as Tomlin said, he needs to grow up. They've just had enough of him, moved on. Barely got more than a compensatory draft pick. If they let him go after next year, they probably would have gotten close to what they got in trading him. So they didn't get a lot. They didn't get a ton for him, that's for sure. But maybe that was right. I think it's time for Dak now to step up, as Lamb and Pickens combo will be one of the more feared in the NFL. I think. The Steelers now lack weapons on offense. No number 2 receiver, really, in case you think Robert Woods is the key number 2 receiver. A rookie running back replacing Najee Harris. They got Metcalf and Robert Woods, and they let Pickens, Van Jefferson, and Mike Williams go. Maybe they should look to acquire Amari Cooper. He's still out there. Keenan Allen or Gabe Davis. Will Aaron Rodgers be scared off? I don't think so by this. The Steelers seem confident he will sign, and he will have Metcalf to throw to.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching this clip of the Harvey Hour. If you want to watch the full show, you can by clicking the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to take the show with you on the go, it is available wherever you get your podcast. We go live here on YouTube every single Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload a video and whenever we go live.